Yeah, here we are. We did it. We made it. E3 2019. That's all I got. That's as hype as stuff gets, actually.
It's another one.
Yeah. It's another one. And another one. I am Dali Domovsky. Joining me, as usual, is Aaron Scratty Bones Kelly.
It's E3. We're doing it.
We did it. We're not just doing it. We did it.
I'm being obnoxiously loud.
Yes. And in all actuality, we didn't do anything, but
Yeah.
Oh my God! Joining us also, Rexley. Can you not hear us? Oh, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking. I like how each of our rooms that we're in is a different color. I've got like the gray room. Rexley has yellow, and Aaron has green. So it's all different stuff. Try turning it off and on again. Just kidding. While Rexley is messing with his audio settings because we can't hear him yet.
Yes.
Oh, there he is. Don't know what you did.
I honestly followed your advice. I turned on and off my button.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So let's
earphones.
Yeah,
we got to kick this off with the biggest story of forever.
Yeah,
They made big controllers.
They made big Switch controllers. Aaron is getting a Switch.
I'm gonna try and figure out how to get some money together for a Switch because, I said it. I said I'd get a Switch if they make controllers that fit my hands, and those might fit my hands.
For the information we're talking about, Hori showed off the new Switch controllers they're making that are giant, that are Aaron-sized hands Switch controllers. So it's finally.
Oh, what a lovely day!
Yeah.
I'll be able to play Legend of Zelda: Breath in the Wild.
Part 2.
Part 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Gentlemen, how are you guys?
I'm really good.
Like you both answered at the same time. I probably should have said, Rexley, how are you? Aaron, how are you? But no, I said, gentlemen, how are you?
And we both said the same word, so it's fine.
That's true.
Well, guys, it's great. It's E3 week. And so it's been a hell of a lot of news. More surprising than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was definitely going to be a slower year, but it hasn't been that slow. There's been quite a lot of announcements. If you managed to stay away from the leaks ahead of time, there have been a lot of announcements.
I think considering the fact that Sony was not there, not a bad E3.
Yeah.
Right?
It was all right.
Yep.
Like you'd think you'd miss them, and then you see all the stuff, and you're like, "No, I'm okay." It's actually we were fine without it, honestly.
Like, do you think all the companies like Sony and like EA and stuff like that who didn't really have a presence this year are looking at everybody going, "Yeah, the C3 was okay," and going, "Oh shit,
damn it."
I can see EA like just pushing things back a week and not. I mean. It's I guess they're okay with doing it now because it leads up right to E3, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do something completely different where they don't have it connected to like that week at all, and they just steal the limelight for the news cycle for that week before, or be like Sony where they just don't say anything and do small hints here and there like they did with the recent PS5 stuff and Death Stranding and all that stuff. So
the PS5, which still is not confirmed.
Right. The console that is all but confirmed.
We know what's in it, but it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
The same stuff that's in the Xbox Scarlett.
Yes, Project Scarlett.
So we covered the Xbox stuff in our live stream kind of drink along the other day, but we can touch on a couple things from there because it's just kind of fun to recap. So this today we're going to do a quick, or we'll do a recap of E3 and kind of talk about some of the biggest announcements, and then we will get. We actually have a couple other news bites that Aaron's been pulling together. Aaron, do you want to do the news bites first, or should we just go right into E3? What do you think?
I got a cookie in my mouth.
I was going to say he's mid-chew.
So in other words, let's get into E3.
No, I'll do it.
Okay.
So I pulled together 4 stories that may or may not be E3 related, but seemed interesting. And, with E3, it's sort of a slow news week otherwise anyway.
It's true.
So, story number 1. Riot Games is launching Teamfight Tactics, which is their take on auto chess.
Mm-hmm.
I still have cookie in my mouth. I can't get rid of it. They announced it, and it's been like less than a month since auto chess became a thing, and now League of Legends is doing one. So
Everybody seems to be doing one all of a sudden.
I'm very okay with that.
Is auto chess the new battle royale?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Auto chess is the new battle royale, is the new MOBA.
There it is. There it is. Just link it all the way back. All the way back. Go further.
I
Go further.
don't think it's as versatile a
It's a new card
concept.
game.
Yeah.
As a new card game. I don't think it's as versatile a concept as MOBA was. MOBA started off as a mod too. MOBA was an RTS mod.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's enough there for auto chess to like really stand out on its own. Having said that, I think there's more than enough for it to stand out as like a side piece of a MOBA. So yeah, like I mean Dota auto chess works because people play Dota and everybody loves Dota and you know all the characters. League of Legends, I'm sure their Teamfight Tactics is going to work because a lot of people play League and everybody knows those characters. But I don't think, Kevin Third Party is, auto chess royale is going to do so well with characters nobody knows or gives a shit about.
Yeah.
Look out for the Rocket League auto chess coming out.
Isn't that Roller Champions? What else? What other news you got? You got the other Riot Games news that broke?
I don't.
Oh, did you see that?
Oh,
yeah. There's some good breaking news. Riot, the state of California, is investigating Riot Games for gender discrimination.
Oh,
So
yeah.
They are full on California Department of Fair Employment. I'm reading this from Kotaku. And Housing said today that it is filing an investigation enforcement suit against League of Legends publisher Riot Games as part of an investigation into gender discrimination at the company. One long sentence. Oh, excuse me. I had a lot of ice cream before this started. Long sentence.
That was inevitable, really.
Yeah.
It seemed like they certainly weren't going to do shit, with all the protests and walkouts and stuff. There seemed to be almost zero response. So here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is kind of funny because I actually had a mandatory diversity and inclusion thing for lunch today.
Really? For work, huh?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird timing, but yeah, it is kind of inevitable, right? Considering that they didn't do anything in the past. So I'm wondering if because now that the government's going to get involved in it, if that's good. I mean, it's not federal, but it's still state, and it's still a pretty huge presence. I wonder what, if anything, they'll do. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Sad that it has to come to this, but
yeah. Definitely.
I mean, it's sad for the people who are affected by it. Yeah. I don't think it's sad at all for the people who are still on the payroll, despite the fact that there are dozens of complaints lodged against them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
What else you got there, Aaron?
So the Epic Game Store, as most people know, they've been doing like a free game every 2 weeks since they launched, and they said they were going to do it for a year. When they started this big sale that they've been doing, the big ultra mega happy sale or whatever the fuck it's called,
The Epic
they switched it to a week, so it was a free game a week during the sale. They've since come out and said that they're just going to do a week till the end of the year. So their full length of time, they're basically doubling the amount of games that they're giving away for free.
Man, they're really trying to make me add it to my launcher line at the bottom of my screen.
The launcher lineup. Yeah, I have it as well. I just kind of load it up. I hit the add button and I then shut it down.
Nintendo announced that they'll be making changes to matching with friends, quote unquote, in Mario Maker 2.
In other words, we're going to be adding it in because of the complaints that everybody's having because of it.
Which, awesome. Like that's what you want it for.
Yeah, it is. Totally.
That's what you want Mario Maker for. Yep. So not having it, kind of a bad thing. And then finally, for my little news roundups, Jason Schreier, Kotaku, did an interview / article about the Final Fantasy VII remake.
It's a good one.
Yeah, the article is really good, and it talks in depth about the game. But the interesting thing was a screenshot that was a part of it that he posted to Twitter, as part of his interview with Yoshinori Kitase. He asked him how many games in the Final Fantasy VII Remake there are going to be. And Kitase said he can't say yet because we don't know ourselves.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no.
They have not planned this out at all.
No.
In other words.
Yeah, that's going to be... What's I guess I'm wondering now what's the over-under, right? Like, are we saying like 3 is the sweet spot? Are we saying it's 4? Like,
I'm saying 8 discs.
Because 6 releases across 8 discs.
I'm saying 8 discs because the first game that's coming out is all Midgard, though just the first section of Final Fantasy VII,
which is insane.
Apparently it's 2 discs. So I'm saying 2 discs. Call it 8.
I'll say 6. I'll say 6 discs.
6 discs. I'm gonna say there's probably gonna be 3 parts to this game. There'll be Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII 2, and Final Fantasy VII 3.
And Lightning Returns Final Fantasy
Lightning Returns Final Fantasy VII 3. I made the joke earlier today that by the time Final Fantasy VII Remake is completed, we'll be ready for the remake of the remake. It'll be another 20 years.
Like the 10-year anniversary.
The 10-year anniversary, yeah. But
collectible just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
But the game looks so fucking good. Let's get into E3 because then we can talk about stuff like this.
Yes.
We'll kind of go conference by conference or big news by big news as best as I can. There's a whole lot of stuff, and we'll just we'll go from there. The EA press event, we saw Jedi Fallen Order, and that looks. Well, what are your guys' thoughts on? I have my internal voice telling me one thing, but I'm curious to see what you guys think.
About EA?
Yeah.
EA had no.
Well, about Jedi Fallen Over. Jedi Fallen.
I mean, I
would buy that
keep
game.
that headline in case the game goes bad.
Jedi I'm not a Star Wars guy, so it's really hard for me to have an opinion in terms of it being a Star Wars game. But my opinion, I think I covered it on the podcast 2 months ago or something like that, where they come out at that point and said, like, there's going to be no microtransactions, it's going to be a full game, nothing like that at launch or whatever their statement was. So I'm just still fully expecting that thing to have, like downloadable cosmetics and all that kind of shit, like micro DLCs constantly, like Crusader King style or something like that, where it's just like $10 worth of DLC like every 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah. I mean, it looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree the same. It looked good, and it's been a hot minute since I've played like Force Unleashed. But it definitely, at least a little bit of the lightsaber play felt a little bit like that. I just feel like there's nothing that compelling in it yet to kind of really tell me like, oh, you should get this. And I was talking about this with some coworkers like a couple days ago. Like, I'll probably get it at some point, but not like day one.
I thought the lightsaber fight looked bad. Like, I thought the actual move, like the actual fighting looked, it looks like Star Wars. It looked fine.
Sure.
But there's a point in that fight where it's like, he's smacking him with the lightsaber and he's blocking it, and then he finally gets a hit in.
Right.
And in the fight, he hits him in the chest. And I'm like, that should have cut him apart. And then he turns like, the dude with the other one, the bad guy, swings his lightsaber around. You see his back of his shoulder, and there's like cut marks, like a lightsaber going through metal or whatever on his shoulder. But he hadn't been hit in the shoulder yet. So for the rest of that fight, I'm just watching to see these to see if more of these like cut marks appear or what look like cut marks. And it didn't seem to match up between when he finally got a strike in and where the damage appeared. I don't know if that's just me. Like, maybe I was just looking at it wrong. But
I mean, it could be one of those, like, I don't know what the actual terminology is, but I know like in like other games have done it where like if you hit an object, there is already a set like damage layer effect on it. So that could be it. I don't know. Like I'll be honest. I saw this on my phone, so I didn't pay attention to the damage markers as much. But like the lightsaber play looked okay, and like I kind of liked it. But I mean, like the whole like it looked weird when he was deflecting the lasers. It was just kind of like a weird like this thing, and it was like I don't know. It wasn't as as pronounced or more flare than I thought. I don't know. It's just it's still a maybe for me. I think for now.
Like I always thought, here's the problem with that I've always had with Star Wars, specifically the thing you just talked about, where they're like deflecting lasers.
Yeah,
I've always thought that looked bad. Like I thought it looked stupid when like Luke's doing the training on the ship with the drones and he's blindfolded and they're like shooting beams at him. You know what I'm talking about? I always thought that looked kind of bad, and I just sort of chalked it up to well, the movie came out in the 80s,
right?
So you got to give it a little leeway. Like you can imagine what they want you to think it looks like. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then Episode 7 comes out, and Kylo Ren stops a laser beam with the Force, and not a lightsaber. And I was like, that is cool. That should be what Jedis do to stop blaster shots. Just push that shit away.
Right.
But so now I have that thought, and it's like, well, now they're just swinging a stick at it.
Well, I mean, he also has those force powers that like basically slow down time, right? Where like he's like slows down time and then was able to grab one of the stormtroopers and like put him in front of his own bullet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is kind of cool. Like
that is cool.
But I mean, I don't know if it's I can only assume that it's a skill tree based kind of game where you don't get those early on, but as you progress or whatever, you get access to these things. I don't know what the deal is, but
it'll be attack, defend, and force powers.
Right.
3 trees.
Yeah. But it would just have those spread out.
Yep. What do you think? What do you think, Dali?
So my thoughts on it were, I kind of weirdly kind of like the, I guess the Unchartedification of a Star Wars game. I was kind of into it. There were some interesting powers, Jedi power stuff that they were showing, but I've been yearning for an actual like first person Star Wars game. Now my only trepidation with this kind of stuff is it's never it's always like a new Jedi, or it's it's never
Star
one of the
killer.
Yeah, it's never one of the major characters. Like I would love it, like we know Luke did certain shit here and there afterwards before the different movies. I would love to play some of that stuff. I mean, yeah, granted, I know you can't take on the Darth Vader every single time because it wouldn't be quote unquote canon, but there are other terrors out there, and there's been decades in between Star Wars movies. So I would have loved to see Luke take on a mini empire or whatever. There could be some cool things, but
it just makes me laugh because it's like in Star Wars canon, the Emperor Palpatine pulls it off, killing all the Jedi because they're supposed to be balanced, and there's so many Jedi and so few Sith. So he manages to kill them all off, and then there's like 2 Jedi, and like there's 2 Sith, and that's kind of it up until the movies start, and then the big fight with Vader and Palpatine gets killed and all that shit, and then these games come out, and it's like, oh well, there was this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another game. Oh, it was this guy. This guy was alive too. It's like, well,
and
I guess.
And I think that's the reason why it's so like Star Wars canon is a very touchy subject to a very big group of fans. Like there's a whole section on the books, right, that are like actually canon, and not a lot of people know about it. And I think the fear, at least on Disney / Lucasfilm's end, is like if you throw in a main character into a game like this and the game itself is not well received, it has to then, regardless of how it turns out, be accepted as canon, and people are going to hate it one way or another. So I totally get your point. Like I too want to see have a Luke Skywalker game that's not a repeat of the movies, but I think there's also that hesitation on the IP's end where it's like, but if it's bad, then you have to live with it, and then they don't want another Phantom Menace on their hands, I guess, is the issue, right?
That's right. Well, let's move on. That was, I mean, other than that, they just had a bunch of sports games, which it's EA. That's kind of what they do. No Anthem talk, a little bit of Apex Legends talk, but
the lack of Anthem talk, by the way.
Exactly. let's move on to some of the Microsoft press conference. There was a lot of news, right? They were the big one. They were the 2-hour-plus press event this year. There was no Sony, so they were going to get more of the third parties on there. And Microsoft actually did a fairly balanced show looking at, speaking of the balance in the force, a balanced balancing software and hardware and back-end stuff, and then stuff for 2019 and stuff for 2020. Go ahead.
I've been saying for 2 or 3 years now. Excuse me. I've been saying for 2 or 3 years now that it seems like Microsoft / the Xbox division basically collectively wrote this generation off.
Mm-hmm.
Like they knew they were never going to be able to pull the lead from Sony, and so they said, "All right, fuck it, we're just going to let it simmer." And like the last couple of years, you know, you could watch Microsoft's press conferences and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, there's a couple of games. Oh, that's sort of cool. Nothing really mind-blowing though. And then here's this year, the year where they're debuting their next generation console, and it was phenomenal. Like it really feels to me like they were like, all right, we're coming at this generation like we did with the 360. Like we had our skip year, and now we're coming back. So like their press conference was amazing.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job of really kind of mixing everything. I mean, even Flight Simulator for all.
Yeah, I was surprised that got screen time.
I'm surprised that got screen time. They didn't put any mobile stuff on there except for Minecraft Earth, so you didn't have the that Gears tactical game really show up. But really, people the big things were Project Scarlett, right? In that it looks like it's going to be a technical powerhouse. Probably on par with the next PlayStation, and Microsoft knew that was the issue. But what they're doing is, not just focusing on that hardware, which, by the way, holiday 2020 going to cost $1 million, sure. But they're also showcasing xCloud, which is their game streaming service. Now that is, I think, the bridge across. Potentially across all of their gaming generations. All their gaming generations now, right? Because it's launching this October, and then it's gonna tide us over for the year, and then it's gonna, before Scarlett launches, then it'll go through Scarlett, and it'll be available if you don't want to pick up a Scarlett or whatever it's going to be called. Then you have your old Xbox One to play games on, and I think to play the newest games on, and I think that's a very kind of exciting, tantalizing type of thing. I almost wonder if it'll be streaming more than just or streaming not just like video, because that was one of the issues with things like Gaikai and OnLive, is that they streamed video, so you had a ton of artifacting. xCloud seems like it's doing more. It's actually streaming like bits, and it's streaming other stuff to you, so that depending on which hardware maybe you're playing it on, you may not get 4K on on a Xbox One S or the Xbox One SAD edition, but you'll get something that's really comparable and stable to what the console can put out, because it is just kind of streaming bits more than just video. But we'll find out more about that. It's basically turns your Xbox One into your own personal and free xCloud server. So we'll wait and see. By the way, speaking of turning the Xbox One into stuff, has the Xbox One turned into an indie game making machine yet? I'm still waiting for that. What's the software that we can use for that? But xCloud seems like it's that's really one of the big pushes now is streaming. And as before you hopped on the show, Rexley, here I am right next to my Xfinity Wi-Fi router. Right, my Xfinity router is literally within arm's reach. I'm tapping it right now.
Yeah.
I turned into a robot on this podcast in my low quality camera and low quality audio. That's a problem, and I have 150 megabits down. So. Streaming has potential, but the infrastructure might be there. Actually, the infrastructure for corporations giving that power is there, but every consumer has a different router. Every consumer has different settings, different pieces of hardware. and that's going to be a big challenge, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see how this does going forward with Microsoft, with Google, with Sony doing some streaming, with, as we saw, Bethesda doing streaming. So yeah, are you guys into the streaming stuff? I mean, Aaron, you might have some issues with that, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
He's like looking like somewhere distant. He's like, yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like I don't have data caps, so the data isn't an issue. But even with my internet, I just don't believe that I'm going to be able to stream any of this without latency.
Right.
I can't stream video without latency. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I just don't believe. And then you got the Google Stadia guy out there the other day going like, "Oh yeah, I'm absolutely confident that our service is entirely latency free." And I'm like, "You're full of shit, man. It can't be totally latency free. That's not like it doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't matter how clean your stream is. There's a distance between my computer and your servers. It might be microseconds, but in some games like that matters."
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I don't know. Like all of this push towards streaming, just like from that perspective, seems like nonsense to me. And then I think about the fact that I'm one of the rare individuals in my country, let alone America, that doesn't have a data cap. Most people have data caps,
mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna stream this game in 4K, no latency, right to your TV through your system. And it's like, all right, so you're probably gonna be looking at what, like 10 terabytes of stream data in an hour's worth of play.
It's going to be nuts.
In 4K.
It's going to be insane how much we're going to pay for this stuff.
Do people have 10 terabytes of data like per month with any ISP?
Yeah, it's nuts. I'll only say this. So I actually was a sucker and got Xfinity's like penalty-free data. Like basically removed the data cap on mine.
Right.
But it costs like $25 extra or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know of a lot of people that are willing to do that. And to kind of go on what Aaron was saying, like it's crazy. Like, I just hope that people like realize like that what you're seeing on like in these press conferences is a controlled environment where there's barely anyone else on the same network. Like, you know, you're probably living in a house with people that are watching Netflix or downloading something or browsing a web page or doing a podcast like this. And then you can't expect to do all those things and then throw in a latency-free, fully rendered 4K experience at the same time. It's just it's not possible.
There was the press conference. I think it was the Bethesda press conference where they were showing off Doom streaming to a Switch or something like that.
No, it was a phone.
A phone. Yeah. So it was streaming to a phone, and it looked all right. But then they announced that like the data center they were streaming from was in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't even like streaming from anywhere. Like they weren't like Bethesda's Maryland.
Yeah.
They weren't streaming from Maryland. They were streaming from essentially next door to the LA Convention Center in terms of distances like that.
Right.
It's like, show me that, except your data center's in New York.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to see how that
across
looks.
Country. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's gonna be super interesting to see how this all plays out. I mean, and I'm actually most curious. You bring up a good point, Rexley. A lot of times we'll play games when we're podcasting, but what about the folks that live off of like Twitch and Mixer and YouTube? I mean, they have to do two things at once, right? Stadia didn't really go into a lot of detail about streaming. Yeah, they mentioned you can stream and you can chat over it, but there's a lot more stuff that goes into, you know, game streaming and chatting and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you have full-on productions for the folks that are really into it, interaction with chat members and that kind of stuff. So, all this is going to be really interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Well, Stadia itself is ridiculous because it's like, all right, let me use a Google service to stream the games that I'm going to stream. Except now it's in Google's hands what I get to stream because they could just shut that shit down. Like, what if Nintendo goes for another Nintendo Creators push, and so you can't stream a Nintendo game as your job.
That's a good point.
And they just pay Google to shut anybody down who's not a creator. Like, like, is that something people like streamers want? Like hand over control of their own content to Google, essentially. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a weird place to be in.
It totally is. It totally is. But it's everything is happening this fall. In fact, Microsoft will be out ahead of Stadia, so we'll see how that takes place. I think Ryan or Tom picked up ordered the Stadia, so he'll be one of the founders of that. Sucker. On to other Xbox press conferences. They showed off a new Elite controller, getting sort of a revamp. Apparently, all Xbox One accessory, or majority of the Xbox One accessories, except for the Kinect, probably, will work on Scarlett. So that way, if you buy this awesome new $180 controller this fall, it will work on the next Xbox. So that's at least there's something there. But it looked really cool. I mean, there's you can fine tune things like pressure sensitivity and stiffness and things like that, which a lot of folks have been asking for. So
I like a stiff joystick.
You like a stiff joystick, yeah.
I just like the weight of it, man. Like, there's just so much in there, and it just feels heavy. And it's like, oh, I like this.
It's not too light, because a lot of times you have a controller that's just full of air, and the current DualShock 4 feels almost too empty. And then I think it was the Wii U Pro pad felt like there was nothing in there.
Yeah, that felt like paper.
Yeah, it felt like paper. You want meat in your hands.
You want heft.
You want heft. But speaking of Scarlett, Halo Infinite will be a launch title for Scarlett. It's cross-gen. So you're getting it for the Xbox One and the Xbox One X and Scarlett. So it's going to go across three video game systems there. So
can't wait for that Digital Foundry graphical breakdown.
Yes.
That is their own, that is their own proprietary,
Yeah.
Oh, we tried a while at Tom's Armor to figure out how they were doing it, and we were like, you know what? I think it's proprietary. They make their own stuff.
Yeah,
it's their own stuff.
What do you guys think of Halo?
I thought the trailer was cool. They didn't show anything.
No gameplay.
Yeah,
I retweeted a tweet the other day that really summed up exactly how I feel about the way that game was set up. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Here it is. This is from Dan Pierce. He says, I feel like if you lose Master Chief in space once, that's an honest mistake. But if you do it twice, then it's just irresponsible.
It's true. What was it at the end of Halo 4 or something? Or
Halo 2.
Halo 2, he just
Halo 2 or Halo 3. You're in space and then whatever.
I think it's at the end of every Halo he disappears. So now he's back.
Maybe it was Halo 3 and then Halo 4 he crash lands on the planet.
That's what it is. Halo 4. I still gotta play. I have 4. I'm staring at 4. I've got to play 4, and I've got to play. We're calling it 5 now, even though it was Halo Guardians. But
they keep calling it Halo 5 Guardians or whatever.
Yeah. And Gears 5 got its September release date, which is no surprise. But they didn't show any gameplay really on the stage, did they?
No, they didn't. Which is very interesting.
Yeah, but I guess that people are playing that new escape mode in
which promises to be interesting.
Yeah.
They're doing a staggered showcase for the content for that game.
Yep.
They're doing the escape room stuff this month, and they're doing versus stuff next month, and then they're doing campaign the month after that, and they're doing a horde the month after that or something like that. They're trying to focus on the new. They're trying to focus on the new stuff first.
Okay.
So if you're at E3, I believe escape mode is playable on the floor. I think that sounds right.
Yeah, probably
that sounds about right.
But yeah, I mean, it's enough to pull me back into this is Gears 5, I think. Yeah.
I'll be in for Horde, maybe escape.
We finally saw the actual trailer for Elden Ring, even though that leaked the week before E3.
I have no idea what to make of that trailer.
It's a cinematic. There are a lot of folks saying it looks so good. What looks good?
Yeah, it's a cinematic. It's a cutscene, guys.
It's a cutscene. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even really set the mood for me, except someone can rip off other people's arms and stick it to his. I don't know.
It's also very, even though it's with George R. Martin, it's still the same formula of everything was okay until this said artifact broke. And all these people, you're gonna fight all these people. Great.
There's a point in that trailer where the voiceover is just like narrating, nonsense fantasy words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, none of this makes any sense. And there's a point where the narrator goes, something, something, the Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. And I'm like, ugh. I don't know what I just heard, but I did not like that.
You could do like a Dark Souls, you could do a Souls trailer Mad Libs book. I'm pretty sure you could.
Awesome.
You could totally do it.
So that's a thing. Outer Worlds looked fantastic. That's basically was Fallout New Vegas in space.
Apparently,
the headline I keep reading, by the way, all day today.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently that game is word on the street is that game is not like as long as a Halo game or a Fallout game. Like it is a very much shorter game, but apparently it's quite good. So
I guess if it's short and compact, that I might actually be able to play it. Count me in for that. Ninja Theory has what did we meant? What did JJ say? It looks like Metal Splatoon. 4-on-4 battles, but melee instead of Splatfest. So, but it looks cool. It's the first game that's been announced since Ninja Theory joined Xbox. We saw Battletoads Revival, the Battletoads game, I should say, which is 2D. I guess you know what? Better than doing a 3D style, dark and gritty thing that Microsoft tends to do. It's Battletoads. It's got this weird Saturday morning, like flash animation style of Saturday morning.
Yeah, just keep it.
Yeah,
so I'm not true to the roots.
It is what it is. I think it's safe to say I'm not offended by it. So, Phantasy Star Online 2.
That's ridiculous.
That's bizarre.
That is absurd.
It's a few years too late.
That game is launching with all the content that game currently has, which means from like day one, minute one, you'll be like hit with 10 years worth of like quests that all pop at the same time from the lobby and like people running around in like giant cup noodle and like maid outfits and stuff like that. Like, what the fuck?
Sounds like the lobby of a free-to-play MMO.
Oh god, yeah, totally. We also had the Lego expansion for the Lego DLC for Forza. I'm so excited for that.
That is, oh my god, I still can't believe that's a thing. That's so great, especially after the Hot Wheels stuff they did. I think a year ago, 2 years ago.
I think it was a year ago. Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm really happy that happened.
Tales of Arise. So it's a new Tales game.
Yep.
Went out to PS4 and Xbox One. So that's
I'm sure that'll be
made
fun.
a lot of people happy. And let's see here, a Blair Witch game. The news that everybody was really excited about. In fact, it was pretty funny because the moment that started, again, JJ on the that guy was an oracle on Sunday. I think. Would you say that, Erron? Like JJ was calling everything that was popping up.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, this looks almost like a Blair Witch game. And all of a sudden, Blair Witch, the logo.
Not gonna lie, I honestly thought I saw the camera, and that wasn't the first thing in my mind. I said, like, I think I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, and she doesn't know anything about games, and I was like, is this Outlast 3?
Whatever. I was hoping it was an Alan Wake game, but
that's what I thought too. So I went from Outlast to Alan Wake and then back to Outlast, and then they showed the symbol at the end. I'm like, oh,
it's the layers of fear, folks. Bloober team, and then really the only news that mattered out of the Xbox conference, which was Keanu Reeves.
Keanu
is God. Yeah. So
yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 has a release date, which is April 16, 2020. By the way, as we're going to find out in the rest of this podcast, not only is the rest of this year packed, because there are a lot of games coming out, and there's still a couple that haven't really been fully formally announced yet, but March and April of next year are going to be absolutely freaking bonkers.
I guess now is the time to bring this up. How many members of the SideQuesting family am I going to have to murder to review Cyberpunk?
Hopefully none. Hopefully we'll get plenty of copies of this game. All right.
I'll be honest. Like that would be the one game I would not want to like review, just because of like
the heat that's going to be on us.
Not just the heat, but then the time required to do, and then like.
And you're scared of my knives. I understand.
Yeah. I mean, it was at the bottom of the list. But yeah, I was telling someone the other day, I'm gonna be like, this is gonna be crazy on people's bank accounts those 2 months.
Oh,
so this is your PSA, people, to file your taxes early and get your
file your taxes early and do what do what they tell you in Sony press conferences, which is get a second job.
Yeah, and like I think that April 16th release date, that is on like tax day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. It's tax day. Oh my god, that's perfect. That's perfect. Let's move on to Bethesda. I think that was the next press conference. So Bethesda had a very interesting press conference. They showed off. I mean, they have a couple new games, right? They have Deathloop, which is the guys, the Dishonored team.
That looks cool.
From Arcane Leon, I think. So they're making Deathloop, which is basically two assassins going after each other and like zombies or something, thrown in there as well.
Yeah.
But that looked cool as a different style game, and I'm all in for kind of these interesting, sometimes just having. I think I mentioned when I did the quick blog post about it, but maybe just having one or a few really good enemies to battle is better than having an infinite number of bodies to pile up. So,
right. I'm also looking for Arcane's art style, so
yes, totally,
keep that coming.
And then Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the Evil Within, Shinji Mikami. And then what was the name of the creative director?
I keep forgetting her name.
Ikumi? Something like that. Anyway, she stole E3. She ripped the E3 rug out from underneath Keanu Reeves at that moment. But just pure joy. It was great to see that joy, that she was just excited to.
Did you see the tweets?
Her tweets?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
She's been posting through all three.
Yeah.
She's got like there's pictures floating around of like her looking at like Google Images and all like the fan art people have been drawing of her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just
awesome.
nice. It's just nice.
It's just, I like that. I like when Aaron is super positive about something. It's just nice. It is really cool.
I'm by nature a cynical person, but it's very rare when there's something that you just can't be cynical about. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. She was happy. The crowd loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
It was cool. It was a great moment. But I mean, and that game looks pretty cool. God, just again another trailer. We didn't really see gameplay, but the premise seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't really know what that game is, and it is in my top 3.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. They showed, there's some Fallout 76 stuff coming. There's a battle royale mode.
Surprise, surprise.
I mean, didn't we say there was going to be battle royale mode when they announced Fallout 76?
Yes,
we were wondering why there wasn't a battle royale mode. Here it is. NPCs, human NPCs you can talk to, which is just bizarre. They didn't have those in the first place, but whatever. So that'll actually kind of help, I think, the help that game along a little bit. But Commander Keen on mobile, so I don't know, whatever. That's a thing. I didn't really play the original Commander Keen, so I'm not.
I did, and I'm not super happy about this, but
is it a different kind of game? Obviously.
Well, Commander Keen was just like a side-scrolling platformer.
This is Commander Keen's kids. And then they spent a lot of time on Doom Eternal, which look.
Well, you're missing one.
What am I missing?
You're missing Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Wolfenstein Youngblood. Yeah, hell yeah, that looked great. Wolfenstein Youngblood looked awesome, and it's co-op, which is great.
Which is always fun.
And I'm way into that. I'm not so much into the co-op aspect.
Well, me neither. But they did say it's the biggest Wolfenstein game they've made. They said it's bigger than 1 and 2 and Old Blood, so that's pretty dope. I just picked up Wolfenstein 2 for Switch about a month ago, so that's my I'll be playing that.
I really like. So my favorite thing about Wolfenstein is they bring those dudes out every single time there's a new Wolfenstein, and those dudes just get up on stage, and inevitably the first words out of their mouth is, "We're gonna kill some Nazis." And it seemed this year like everybody who was in the crowd was sort of over it because they knew it was coming. But you can't be over a sentiment like that,
right?
You know what I mean? So he's just like, "Yeah," and there's like awkward silence, and he's like, "Woo, shoot Nazis!" I was just watching that, like, this is really funny.
Was this before or after they stopped that drunk guy from yelling like crazy again?
Oh my lord! No, I think he's still yelling over there. Holy cow, Woo guy. Good lord.
That dude revealed himself on Twitter.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
What a
He's like, I can't help it. It was just, I've been waiting for this moment my whole life, or something like that. And I'm like, dude,
goodness.
you can help it.
You're there in a professional capacity. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I think they actually let fans in. Oh, he was there as a professional, but they did let fans in. Yeah, Wolfenstein Youngblood was cool. And then obviously Doom Eternal looked fucking amazing.
Yep.
I am all
It's
in.
Doom, baby.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. By the way, I will say, this love affair that I know we talk a lot about Microsoft and Nintendo having a good little love affair, but Bethesda and Nintendo have really gotten close over the last couple years, last 3 years really, since Skyrim and Zelda and Skyrim and stuff. But give me a Fallout collection. Throw some Fallout games on the Switch. Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4 on the Switch, I think would be totes okay with me. I wouldn't be surprised if those are in the works, actually.
Right, considering what was announced at Nintendo's thing. But that's for later.
That's for later. So that Bethesda, pretty good, I think. Let's move on to. There's some PC gamer shows. What's that?
I said pretty good considering.
Yeah.
Because the thing everybody really wants from Bethesda is Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. And there was nothing on that. Admittedly, they got out ahead of E3 and said, "Yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield not going to be there."
I will say one thing we did get out of that press conference was Todd Howard going off on the behind the with the hot mic. Did you guys hear that?
No.
Oh, you didn't see that? Zach posted it in the in our Discord. Howard loses his as he's walking off the stage, and they started playing a trailer for Elder Scrolls, whatever that slash game is, Blades. He just goes off on someone about something, and his words are something to, if he makes me go out of there again, I'm gonna fucking walk. And I'm like, oh, I totally want to know what he was talking about.
Oh my goodness.
Well, Todd Howard's admittedly, he hates doing the PR stuff. He's he doesn't like crowds and stuff like that, which is why it's part of the reason that people are endeared to him when he comes out and everybody cheers for him and loves him. Because he's very mentally I'm very bad at this. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. And to have to come out and be contrite because 76 was a pile of dog shit.
Yeah.
Which they admitted, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think that's why he was pissed. I think him having to come out there and be like that, oh, my Fallout game sucked.
Right.
Sorry, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to make it better. I imagine that really, really bothered him.
Let's go up to anything from the VR, the Upload VR or PC Gamer show you guys want to mention or no?
Nothing too crazy. Just
nothing sticks out. They were both fine. I guess they were mentioning the Upload VR one was actually really kind of cool at showing some VR as a separate conference.
I will say there was one thing. I'm honestly forgetting the name of the game at the moment. I apologize for that, but there was one near the end that was very focused on the stealth action kind of deal. So you were basically a robot sneaking around, but you could climb stuff. Because you have magnetized hands or whatever, but then you could sneak up behind enemies and shoot them or grab them or whatever. And it looked really cool. Reminded me of. It might be the same team that did Budget Cuts, or I think it was just close enough to Budget Cuts that I thought they were the same thing. But yeah, I'm gonna look up the name while we move on to the other ones. But I definitely like that one.
I think I saw a trailer. I saw somebody talking about that game, and it seemed cool. I can't remember the name of it, but the PC Gamer show I think had John Wick Hex on there, which was it looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
I gotta say. I'm
actually
more getting stoked about that.
By the way,
that's coming up from Bithell Studios, right?
Yes. Yep.
So it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
So we had basically Keanu Reeves back-to-back days is what you're telling me. Then we move on to, I think Ubisoft was on.
Was
Devolver?
No, the VR thing, was that where Phantom was shown?
Maybe.
Phantom Covert Ops, the kayak stealth action game.
It must have been. That's all I can.
I don't remember. I don't that game. That game is everybody's talking about that game. Everybody's talking about that game in a way that makes me think that weirdly enough, it might be the VR app, the killer app,
we finally got.
But you need to buy a VR thing to play this game app.
Okay.
You should take a look at Aspire 1 VR Operative. That's the one I was looking at. That's the one that was mentioned. that one looks very promising to me, at least. So, yeah.
Ubisoft had they kind of kicked it off with Watchdogs Legion, which
Grandma
kicking ass.
The
So,
game,
yeah,
the
the game
game
is-
apparently doesn't have a main character.
Yeah, which I kind of like. You are the main character. You holding the controller. Are the main character. No, but it from what folks were saying, it plays a lot like Watch Dogs 2, I guess, and now it's just kind of with a London setting and the ability to hop in and out of different NPCs and win them over as a part of the resistance. That's kind of a cool idea.
Right.
I'm actually, to be honest, I'm actually really interested in Watch Dogs. It could be my first Watch Dogs game, and I've been holding off, but this seems like this could be right up my alley.
Yeah. My only concern is I just don't want that main hook of like you can play as whoever to like wear off after that second hour of like, well, I've recruited X amount of people now, and like, great. Like, I've basically created a super team.
See, it's weird because assuming you stockpile a team, like you do like their quests or whatever to get them like recruitable and you recruit them.
Right.
Are you just rolling around as a horde of people and you can just jump into whoever? Is this
That's
like
what it seems like?
Is this going to end up being like super hot, like those levels where you can jump from person to person to
Oh,
turn
it's
around?
kind of super hot inspired, isn't it?
Like that's what I was thinking. I was like, is it going to be like that, or is there going to be like a waiting period before you can take over a new body? Do you have to die in a body, I guess, to take over a new body? Like, how does that work?
Right.
And are there like class types? I guess right.
There are 3 different class types.
So so everybody's divided into like 3 different class types with some slight tweaks here and there. Yeah. Is that going to get old real quick? Is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, because I'm worried you're going to people are going to min-max their team from the get-go, and then it's going to be like
absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I'm going to fight in that 5-star horse, and I'm never going to ride anything else.
Right.
Down that old town road is what you're going to ride.
Right, and that's not going to say I'm not excited for. I am excited for it. It's one of the top 3 that I put. So
same here. Let's move on. We got the Ghost. We showed some Ghost Recon Breakpoint stuff with John Bernthal's doggy Bam Bam came up on stage. That was cool.
So Bam Bam, the woman from the
Tango Gameworks,
for Tango, and Keanu Reeves, they're like the holy E3 Trinity, I guess.
The holy E3 Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
The holy dog.
The holy dog, yeah. The Father, the Mother, and the Holy Dog. So we had, let's see here. I'm just kind of going through some list of games here. Rainbow Six, was it Rainbow Six Quarantine? Is that the next game? Which
I'm excited about just because it's not not player versus player, and I suck at that.
Yeah,
and it's basically I hope they stay somewhat true to like the previous Ghost Recon games. I don't think it will, but like just the fact that it's a co-op experience, I think is going to be fun. So yeah,
I'm wondering. I mean, it looks like they took a lot of the the Siege engine and aspects of it, just kind of spun it off into its own.
Which is great because I love like Siege footage is always cool to me, but I just would never get at it. So.
A bunch of stuff for Division 2, right? They announced like a free weekend. They announced new locations as well.
Yeah. Back to New York, baby.
Back to New York. Roller Champions, I kind of jokingly mentioned earlier, but Roller Champions actually looks kind of cool. It's like almost Rocket League basketball style, roller derby thing.
So they have a free 3-day long like alpha demo of that game. A lot of people have been playing it. It's rough, but apparently the skating feels really fucking good.
Oh, cool!
Nice.
I might have to jump into that.
Yeah, they locked that down.
And then they actually have their own subscription service. You play Plus, which is going to be part of available on Google Stadia. So, man, Google Stadia is going to get really expensive real quick if you wanted to do stuff. And then let's see here. That was it. Gods and Monsters. They kind of ended with Gods and Monsters, which was kind of an interesting looking. There were some criticisms of Assassin's Creed Odyssey in that it kind of touched a little bit on some of the mythological stuff, but it wasn't enough until you had some of the DLC, which is interesting, but folks wanted more of that. And so I'm sure that they probably, obviously you don't make a game overnight for people or in a few months, but they probably anticipated some of the cool stuff they were learning out of Odyssey and said, let's just make a whole game where it's basically Kid Icarus on the ground in the 3D world. So.
But this has no relation to the Assassin's Creed universe.
No relation.
It just so happens to be the same team that made it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
You say there's no relation, but they kind of sort of set up a relation between all of their games.
They're gonna drop an Abstergo logo at the end of this game as it rolls credits. That's what it's gonna be.
As you zoom out, some Titan is laying on his side and he's the Abstergo logo or whatever. Yeah. So that was Ubisoft. They had that weird kind of TV show announcement thing that they're working on too.
Yeah,
they're making a Division
weird.
2 movie or something, or a Division movie. But yeah, that's stuff that's happening. Anything else? It's that For Honor Samurai Ghost Shadows of the Hitakiri, I think is what it was. But yeah. And then you had Square Enix, or your kind of funny games, which had a ton of indie announcements on there.
I'll say I didn't see this one, so this will be only the two of you.
Yeah, well, I didn't really watch. I kind of skimmed through the announcements afterwards, and I didn't watch it. I just looked at the announcements, and I, the majority of the things there, I say everything there is stuff we basically already knew about, but they're maybe announcing a new platform or a new mode.
The coolest part about that showcase was the thing that they did at the end.
What was that?
They did their own E3. Oh, we got one more thing.
Oh,
and they showcased a game from a one-man developer, indie developer team. Nice. who's one of their subscribers and stuff like that. They were like, we know this guy, he's done some work for us, blah blah blah. Here's this game he's working on, and they cut to this sort of janky looking, kind of cool looking space type game, and I just thought that was really cool. It's it's E3.
That's awesome, and this subscriber got major.
Yeah,
great for him.
How many games that have been showcased at an E3 can you think of that are single man teams?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many games can you name that are single man teams? I can name Stardew.
Yeah, there are very few. I mean, Mike Bithell, is he a single man? I have no idea.
No, he's got a
team. I think
he's got a team.
Although it was funny, after they showed that, I ended up watching some clips of it after. I think I tuned in for one little part of it, but I read most of the stuff in the in the list. But part of me was thinking, we know a lot of indie folks. We could kind of weirdly pull off side questing
E3 showcase.
A side questing E3 showcase. So let's think about that down the line.
Those gears are turning now.
Now the gears are turning in my head. Hey, we could do a PAX East showcase. That could be kind of cool. All right, there we go. We're gonna plan our PAX East panel that will be a side questing PAX East showcase. Okay, we're doing it. That's it. I like this idea. Okay, good stuff.
I don't have a passport, so I don't have to do anything for this.
You don't have to do anything. We're just gonna Skype you in, and we'll be all set.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Square Enix. I think they kind of closed out that night.
Yeah.
And they bookended it with their two big games that everyone's been waiting for, which is they started with Final Fantasy VII Remake, part 1 of the 18. As we were kind of mentioning it in the early portion of the show, it fucking looks good. It looks real good, guys. It looks real good.
It does look good.
I like the battle gameplay. Looks really, really cool. I'm glad they kind of switched it up, but they did leave turn-based stuff in there for OGs like me. The visuals look fantastic. They've rebuilt the game completely, so it's not like they're up-resing some stuff or copying some things over. No, they redid everything in there. Like you said, I mean, it's big enough to be two Blu-rays just for this first part. So. And they don't know how big it's going to keep getting. I mean, this could be a series of Final Fantasy games, and hopefully, they release this first one, and then we're only 2 years in between others. But here's the ish, guys. Final Fantasy VII launches in March. PS5 launches in November. Is the next game PS5 or with awesome visuals, or is it PS4? Is it going to look shitty on the PS5? I mean, what are they going to do? So
they could do Neck 3, honestly. PS5.
Well, they can remake this remake and release it on the PS5 as a launch. Oh god.
I mean, it could. I mean, also could be like Last of Us Part 2 could be a launch title for them.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Horizon
the
Zero
more
Dawn 2.
I think the more interesting question is like Final Fantasy VII Part 2.
Yeah.
Is most probably gonna be on the PS4 and the PS5.
Yep.
Right.
It's gonna be one of those two system platforms. I don't think they're gonna do an Atlas and put it out on the one system. I think so. I think the interesting question is, by the end of the Final Fantasy VII games, are they all still multi-platform?
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
Or will the final game be on its own be on a platform that the first game isn't on?
Will you be screwed if you don't have a PS5 and you've got your save games with the progression on your PS4 and you have to wait until you're able to get a PS5 or get online to upload your saves? And yeah, there could be a logistical nightmare with this game. You are very, both of you are right in line with that. They also showed the number one thing that Aaron had in his predictions: Final Fantasy VIII remake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not a remake, a remaster.
I'm sorry, remaster.
Yeah.
Did they call it a remake? They called it a remaster.
They call it a remaster. Yeah,
It's very specifically a remaster.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Which I think I was specific in, right? I very specifically said it'll be a remaster, not a remake.
Can I show you what you wrote? Final Fantasy VIII. Is that you, Aaron?
Remake.
I said, oh, no way.
Oh.
I'm gonna give it to you. I'll give it to you because it's essentially a remake because they lost the source code, so they had to remake the majority of this emulation in bits and pieces. It technically is a remake.
I will go back. I will go back to that podcast because I'm pretty sure that I very specifically said it won't be the same thing as Final Fantasy VII because Final Fantasy VII still isn't done.
Yeah, to juggle two full remakes,
it would be impossible.
That's nuts. But,
yeah. I mean, it's coming. Final Fantasy VIII. It's coming to everything later this year.
It looks really good.
It looked totally. I mean, it looks as good as a PS1 era game that's been up-resed. And I think it actually looks really good because even Final Fantasy VII HD looks a lot better than I remembered it. So yeah, it's good. I will get into this one. Let's see what else they had. They had Outriders, which was the People Can Fly game that Square's gonna be publishing. It looks like some 3-player co-op. Was it first-person shooter type of thing? So we hardly saw anything beyond a cinematic trailer. So we'll see beyond. Hopefully in the next few months we start seeing more of that. You had let's see. That racing game, Circuit Superstars, which was kind of indie racing, looked kind of cool.
That did look cool.
RC Pro, I had shades of that kind of stuff, so I could be in for that.
Reminds you a little bit of like the top-down view of like Motorsport Manager, but it just seems more not like too crazy or detailed in that aspect, but it's still fun. So that'll be good.
They're porting Romancing Saga 3 over, and then the Saga games, and they also showed Last Remnant coming to Switch now. Actually, not coming to, is now on Switch. They stealth dropped that onto the Switch. Let's see what else they got. And then there's one more game that they talked about. What could that be? Marvel's Destiny, Avengers. Marvel's Destiny, Avengers.
It is insane to me that they ended on that.
Yeah,
there was nothing there.
They ended on nothing. They ended on nothing.
There was so nothing there that part of their ending segment was just talking to the voice actors, and the voice actors had nothing to say.
They were like, "Guys, could you believe we're doing the voice acting?" Yeah.
I'm playing Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and my motivation for this character is that he's smart, but he gets angry. That's my take on it. Oh yeah, that's your take on Bruce Banner and the Hulk?
This is such a weird position to be in because. Okay, you don't want to go the MCU route, right? So you can't actually make it look exactly like those characters. Like you can't make it look like Chris Evans. You can't make it look like Understandable. We get it. You could have gone the comic book route, which is everybody recognizes that Captain America's blonde. Tony Stark has the goatee and short hair. Thor has a beard now. The Scarlett, Black Widow has kind of a certain look, and it doesn't look like anybody from the comics either. And instead, you get Captain America looks like he's about 52, 53 years old. A guy who works in a copy editing office in Minnesota. And that's your Captain America. That's your Steve Rogers. And it looked bad. The characters look nothing like
it looks very phoned in.
It's really bizarre because they've been working on this thing since like 2015, I think, when they first announced it with the trailer. So I don't know, guys. This one's, so apparently from what I've been reading is that the game kind of starts you off in this as a single player experience. You play as you touch on all like the major 5 or 6 5 characters in the Avengers that are so Scarlet Witch, Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. Get to be one of those 5 because they don't care about Hawkeye anymore. And you play the single player mode where you kind of use a little bit of each one, and then you face off against a Taskmaster, and then it ends. And then you cut to 5 years or however many years later, the Earth is getting invaded by aliens, and now, or whatever the menace is. And now you can choose whichever hero you want to be and team up with friends and take on missions and do the whole Destiny thing.
Unless it's Captain America, who apparently is dead.
Unless Captain America's dead.
Yeah, right.
So it's really kind of weird. It's an interesting way to get people into the game because really, as a you're going to be playing single player wise. You're playing it through every major character, every major cast member before you actually get to the real meat of the game. So it's like an interesting tutorial. But that's it. That's your game. And
they're saying that they're going to make every subsequent like content drop, be it scenario, be it other Marvel characters, like free, which sounds enticing. Yeah. But I mean, that has to be some really compelling gameplay.
So I don't really care that they don't look like the MCU. Like it's fine. They're recognizable as the characters.
Yeah, I'm fine with looking at the MCU, but
like look at any comic book between artists and look at how different a take on a character can look. Like look at any Captain America artist versus like Rob Liefeld.
Sure. Oh God, Rob Liefeld.
Like look at how different
managed to find bones anywhere and muscles anywhere on the character.
But I think the problem is like it's just very like bland. It's not like they had time to make it. They just don't look.
It's bland. I think is what you're. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
The thing I'm worried about is that it starts with what 5 characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If one of those characters sucks, like that's game over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you play through 3 heroes and it's like, oh, this is amazing. Like, oh, and this is totally different, but this is amazing. And then you hit like hero number 3 and it's like, this is dog shit. Most people are going to drop that game. Like you're not going to make it to 4 and 5, let alone all the DLC.
They had a great, somebody did an article or an interview. I don't know if it was Game Informer or Games Industry, where they spoke to the producers and they said, how do you balance these characters? Because, Black Widow doesn't have superpowers. Thor is the most powerful character. Thor is he can fly. He can shoot lightning. He's got this badass hammer. He's pretty quick. And their response was essentially, well, everybody balances out in different ways. So Black Widow can beat up Thor if they need to. It's like, it's going to be a tough one. There's going to be a lot of crazy balancing acts that they do with this game. I mean, maybe Black Widow uses her acrobatics, but also like really cool weapons or whatever. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see how this goes forward, I guess.
I mean, this is being made by Crystal Dynamics, I think.
Yeah.
I like their games. I have faith that they can make a good game. So
they do. They don't make bad games, but I think the lack of information on this one is what's kind of, and I think the amount of hype and the expectation was so high for this, especially coming off of the Infinity War movie.
That's true.
MCU stuff, that expectations were through the roof. And we know they were never going to match these expectations, but the effort needs to, at least for a conference, when you're showing off the game, needs to be a little bit more. I would have almost been better if they just showed off.
They should have opened with
really
it.
cool cinematic, and that's it. They should open with this. Yeah.
It should have been the reverse.
Yeah.
You open with this, you end with 7.
Yep.
You open with this, and you do everything else in any order, and it doesn't matter because you've got a whole press conference to go. Oh yeah, I saw that Avengers thing. It makes sense that they would open with that. They didn't really have anything. Instead of closing on, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth for sure.
So listen to this. So Final Fantasy launches March 3rd. March 15th is Avengers.
Oof.
March, we'll get to this later. March 20th is Animal Crossing. April 16th is Cyberpunk 2077. PlayStation needs a single, a first party game. Last of Us 2, I'm going to guess, is probably maybe end of February, beginning of March, early April. So it's in this time frame as well. Whoo, lordy!
February, March, April is just
February. I'm sorry. Avengers comes out May 15th, not March 15th.
Okay, so still March, April, May. Then
it's just... but still, it's gonna be crazy. So, whoo, lordy! It's March, April, May next year. Gonna be bonkers. Yeah, and then So, anyways, let's move on. Out of anything else from Square Enix, or that's that. You guys want to talk about Oninaki?
Aaron and I can talk about Shadowbringers on a separate thing.
Yeah, maybe the next episode, the next part. Yeah, Shadowbringers didn't happen what we wanted to happen, which was Final Fantasy 14 on the Switch. I think that would have made a lot of people happy. But
that's challenging enough on a controller, to be honest.
Nintendo held their Direct yesterday morning and did announce a bunch of stuff. I gotta say, they did I went in with lower expectations. I think I kind of posted before the Direct in our Discord, and I said, I think to Katie, I mentioned it. My expectations are low. I was kind of anticipating Animal Crossing getting the delay, just because it kind of seemed like we hadn't seen anything about it, and all we saw was like a title. And Pokemon's their big game, so I wasn't super upset at Animal Crossing game getting a delay because I want it to be pretty cool. But they did I think Nintendo did a really good job, just like Microsoft, a really good job of pacing themselves. Both companies paced these press events.
And thanks to a timely cease and desist, they had surprises.
So here's what, as I mentioned before, if you listen to our other last couple podcasts, I haven't, but I know other journalists have gotten the Nintendo Direct ahead of time, so you can start planning stuff, getting things ready. And I know like Kotaku got it. They had access to it a few days before it launched. Usually they put the Nintendo Direct out to the press on a Sunday. That way they have all of Sunday and all of Monday to do any writing that they need to. And because when they started doing this the Direct, obviously they wanted to make sure that the press had ample time to get everything set up. So the Breath of the Wild sequel, which Nintendo used to close their press conference or their Direct, complete surprise to everybody because they actually added that in.
Which is crazy.
They added that in after they sent everybody else the other link. So nobody knew this was happening except for, the folks at Nintendo that produced the video, basically.
Which is perfect because, you give everything else, and then that basically gives them time to just wait.
Mm-hmm. I would have loved to be in the press. For anybody that's been in, the Nintendo New York store, whenever one of these...
Oh, man.
You talk about somewhere. You talk about those wholesome reactions, and the Metroid Prime 4 one was fantastic. Man, that was nuts. That's one of my favorites.
When Joker got announced?
Joker getting announced, and then last year, I forget what else happened last year. Maybe it was the Joker one last year. Something happened last year that people lost their minds for.
It was Isabel, wasn't it?
Was it Isabel?
Yeah, people went nuts for Isabel.
There's something. But this year they had it twice because they closed on the Zelda one and people lose their mind. I saw people losing their minds everywhere, to be honest, all over Twitter. People were posting their video reactions to finding out about Breath of the Wild 2, which, by the way, first of all, I'm all in. Aaron, you were mentioning that pixie haircut. I'm all in for that, dude. Count me in. That's got to mean there's like co-op, or you can do something different with you can play as a playable Zelda. Yes, please count me in for that. That looks. I love that it's dark. They're saying that it's actually darker than Majora's Mask,
which is insane.
So, no time frame for this, but from what Anuma said is that he loved the world of Breath of the Wild so much that he wanted to keep it going, and so instead of making another DLC expansion, just make a full game out of it. So I actually,
I went in thinking it was a DLC, by the way.
Yeah, I thought it was DLC as well. I'm gonna say, all right, here's my prediction. My prediction is that 2020 is going to be an excellent year for the Nintendo Switch, and I can see this new Zelda game being their 2020 holiday release, which would be 3.5 years after Breath of the Wild first came out. So,
my God, it's been that long.
Yeah, 2017 was the Switch. So,
wow,
2020 holiday of 20, like this will be their November game. And I'm actually pretty confident they'll have a Splatoon 3 next year in 2020 as well, because it's that time. And then, there's
Persona 5 Royal on Switch.
Well, you have Animal Crossing earlier in the year. You can have Splatoon 3. You can have Zelda, and you can have whatever Mario Party game or a casual game or something. They could have 2020 is looking pretty good all of a sudden for Nintendo. 2020 is, like I said, it's a whole gonna be money drain of a year for all of us. But
not to bookend it, but or not to mention also we're getting Witcher 3 on the Switch this year.
There you go. I'm glad you walked in at Witcher 3 on the Switch. I have the game over here, the OG version of the game of Witcher 3 on the PS4. I'm getting rid of it now so I can get it on the Switch because
I know. Yeah.
I need games. I need my big RPGs on the Switch. The only way I'll be able to play these things.
Yep.
Port. What is it? The Pets Initiative. Port everything to Switch.
Yeah.
Witcher 3. I guess it's visually it's 720 docked and 540 undocked, but
it's fine. And I'm honestly more impressed that they're able to do it.
Yep. And it's the full game of the year.
It's crazy.
And they're fitting it all on one game card. They got it down to Nintendo's finally using their 32 gig cards. So Witcher 3 is the first one to
this is not the one you want to download. You want to buy the physical copy and just throw that in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if Doom Eternal shows up on that as well this year. But so there you go. Animal Crossing New Horizons got delayed till March, but that I love that. I'm okay with that. Love that visual style. Honestly, our time is going to be all sucked into Pokemon for those of us who are going to be playing games. Pokemon and which they showed some more from, and some more Pokemon. Although they did mention that they weren't able to get every single Pokemon rendered out, and
which is
all of the 800 plus. And I know that's bothers folks.
It's obviously a deal breaker for some.
It's a deal breaker. I think there could be DLC for this game. This is a Pokemon game where they can add Pokemon in left. They can open up new areas, have these limited raids. I think that will probably happen.
Yeah. So. You guys will be on Pokemon. I'll be on Fire Emblem.
Oh, Fire Emblem looks great. I love Fire Emblem.
That's next month. Next month.
Next month is going to be, and also next month, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which looks awesome.
Oh,
that's the Avengers game that I think everybody's wanted because it has the X-Men coming as well.
Yeah,
and Marvel Knights. It's been 10 years since Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, so 3 is perfect. Let's see.
My friend was an artist on that.
On the second one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. I love that second one. That was one of our first review games.
Have I ever told this story on the podcast before?
Mm-hmm.
My friend was an artist. They did a lot of the art got done here in Halifax.
Mm-hmm.
So he was an artist on Ultimate Alliance 2. And we're driving somewhere one day, and we're just chatting and stuff like that. And I don't think he knew I was already covering games at that point. And so he's just like, oh, I've been working on this game. I'm like, oh yeah, what game? And he's like, oh, it's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. Had not been announced yet at this point.
Oh.
And I'm just like he's chatting. I'm like, oh yeah, what are you up to? He's telling me all the stuff he's making. Like he designed the main, there's a fountain that's in the main courtyard of the hub world. He designed that. He's telling me all this stuff, and he's telling me about the stuff he has designed for these special activities and stuff like that. And I just let him go for a half hour. I was like, I'm a games journalist, right? And he kind of stopped. He looks at me, and I just started laughing. I'm like, I'm not gonna. Don't worry about it. He's like, oh, thank fucking God.
That's amazing. I don't know what's more amazing, that you were able to let it go that long, or that you were actually a game journalist back then.
Yeah, I mapped it out the other day. I've been writing about games for 11 years.
Oh my
Hey,
god,
dude.
that's longer than me.
Technically longer, except I started in satire, and I don't count that.
Oh, okay. My very first games-related post, I think, was there was a DS app that that somebody had hacked in, like they made a homebrew DS app for sketching, and I forget the name, but I have the game, I have like the actual game that the guy made for the 3DS, but and I was following this car designer who was sketching in this DS app. I'm like, that's really cool. So I wrote a post about it on my car design website, and then that was my first post. I think it was like 2007 or something for the DS. And then my second one was the announcement of the DS Lite. Or no, sorry, the DSi. I did a blog post on like my Tumblr or something. And that was my first like actual gaming. I think I stayed up till like, I don't know. Nintendo announced it at like 11 or 12 o'clock in midnight one night. And I'm like, let me do a blog post about this and see if it's worth it. And I did. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a gaming website. So anyways, let's move on. That speaking of Zelda and remakes, that Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, yes,
that boy
beautiful. There's a Zelda dungeon maker in there. I don't know if it's I don't know if they didn't announce if you'll be able to share those dungeons, but pick up pieces along the way. And
I feel like you should be able to. I really hope they do.
That game looks wonderful. That game is fantastic.
That's just pure fun.
It totally is. Totally is. Yeah.
I'm down for that.
It's beautiful. I love that art style of like these little toys that you're playing with.
Yeah, they're basically like and the amiibo.
Yeah, the amiibos I ordered. I ordered.
Of course you did.
I ordered it on Best Buy and Amazon just to make sure that I got it, and I'm gonna keep it.
So here's the question: Link's Awakening remake, right? Did they add new content to that? Like they must, right?
So the color dungeon is in there.
Yeah.
Which was only in Game Boy Color version. And I believe they did add a little bit to this new one because they were detailing some new stuff coming to Link's Awakening, but I'm going to read up a little bit more on that.
Does that make this version of Link's Awakening sit somewhere else on the Zelda timeline? Do we have to completely rebuild that fucking timeline because there's a new Link's Awakening?
I think you have to rebuild that timeline anyways. Although I will
reprint the Zelda Historia, the Hyrule Historia. We'll get this right this time.
all of your Hyrule Historia now are updated. Please buy the new one.
I will say though, give me Link to the Past in this art style next. I'm all in.
Give me Wind Waker on Switch, damn it.
Wind Waker on Switch. Speaking of other remakes, there's a whole lot of other remakes, but Panzer Dragoon is coming in 2020.
Yeah, it's weird.
That coming. That was out of nowhere. No More Heroes 3. Hopefully to make up Travis Strikes Again, which was not very good. Daemon X Machina is starting to look pretty good finally. What's that?
Give me mechs all day.
So the demo last year, I think they had like right around E3 or whenever that was, wasn't great, and then they had a lot of issues. So it looks like they're addressing some of those. That's a good sign.
Nice.
And then what was that? What's the other? Astral Chain looks fantastic.
Yeah,
that's the Platinum Games jam.
That's another one of those games, man, that I look at it and I go, this looks really, really cool. I don't know what this game is or anything about it.
Yeah, no, I was in that same situation. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I like it.
I'll get that. Nintendo's got a really fucking good year of exclusive content.
It's dropping bangers.
Yeah, they are. Contra Rogue Core. I think that's coming probably to everybody though, right? Or is it only the Switch? I have no idea. That's the new content.
Self-dropped the collection.
They self-dropped the collection, which we knew was coming, but we didn't have an actual date. Yeah, I thought they did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dark Crystal strategy game.
Yeah. Ooh.
That one threw me out. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
It's coming to everything.
It's coming to everything. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Dark Crystal. I don't know if I know it's only been announced for Switch. I'm just going to assume that it's coming to everything as well.
Yeah.
And then that Empire of Sin game, which was
a Paradox game, by the way.
Paradox, and what's the guy?
John Romero.
John Romero. That's that's bizarre. Announced on a Nintendo.
OG
Nintendo
Doom.
Direct. Whew.
OG Doom developer and Paradox. Like
It's bonkers. Stuff like I mean, we knew Spyro the Dragon trilogy was going to come eventually. Dragon Quest 11, Ni no Kuni, Sinking City is coming to Switch. That looks good. Alien Isolation is coming to Switch. I mean, that's
I'm always impressed they get these huge games and put them on the Switch.
Super Lucky's Tale or New Super Lucky's Tale is coming to Switch, which
That looks adorable.
That's an adorable game. If you have not played any of the Lucky's Tale games, Lucky's Tale, Super Lucky's Tale are now New Super Lucky's Tale. They're actually pretty good.
Really
This is the year where basically by the end of this run of announced games, the Switch has a robust catalog.
Yeah,
it's not just a Nintendo platform. It's not the platform you get to play the Nintendo games. Now it's a platform. It's got enough, like there's enough games in there that it's like, okay, yeah. Like that's not a point against it when recommending it to somebody now.
Exactly. You can legitimately say all those games you like are on the Switch now. I mean, there are. Well, it's got more games than any of the other consoles, and it came out after all those.
And it has the added benefit of like you can take it on the commute, which is
that's it. That's my lunchtime. I go work out at the gym at my office for lunch.
Yeah.
So I'll do like half hour at the gym, and then I'll go do a half hour in my car of eating lunch.
Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I loved Final Fantasy 12 and never finished it, and like years after it's come out, I play it on the train.
That's awesome.
Work every day, and I was like, dang, I can't believe this is actually a thing.
There more Resident Evil games are coming to the Switch. So Capcom's finally figured out that they're gonna have to get every Resident Evil game on.
Yeah.
5 and 6. I mean, yeah, those are real bangers, but they're coming to the Switch, so why not?
If you have one, you might as well have the whole catalog, right?
And I know what 7 was working on the Switch as a streaming game, but I would not be surprised if next year, like 2020, they announce like 7 and Resident Evil 2 remake show up on the Switch somewhere.
Yep.
3 and 3. I mean, just put them at this point. Put them
all in there.
Give me that online game.
The online
was
game.
Resident Evil Outbreak, Resident Evil something like that.
There was two or three online games that were all horrible. And then finally, I didn't mention earlier, but they actually opened the show on Luigi's Mansion 3, which looks awesome.
Gooigi
is in the 3DS remake of the first Luigi Mansion, but he was shit.
He has a G on his hat.
Yeah, he has a G on his hat. He's actually useful in this one as a. He has like his own powers now. He's basically like a Slimer, essentially.
And you could do co-op with it.
And you could do co-op with it too. So, and they have like, but more than that, it looks fucking awesome. It actually looks really good, really well designed from an art style. So Nintendo really good. Oh, you know what? And then they also have Banjo and Kazooie and the hero from Dragon Quest are coming to Smash, which.
So I saw I didn't watch the direct live. Because it happened very early in the morning for me because I'm so far ahead. So I went to work and I had a busy day at work, so I didn't get to watch it at work. I was planning on watching when I got home. I went to the coffee shop on my way home to pick up a coffee, and I ran into one of my gamer friends there. Who was there to pick up his girlfriend who works there. And he's like, "Oh man, did you see the direct?" And I said, "No, I'm going home to watch it right now." And he goes, "Oh, you're not going to believe it. They announced 2 Smash characters." And I said, "All right, don't say anything. Let me guess. Is one of them a Nintendo character?" And he goes, "Used to be." And I go, "Banjo and Kazooie." And he goes, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. It's the obvious choice, really.
It's the obvious. This is so what's interesting is this is the first Western non-Japanese character to be in the Smash Brothers game as an actual playable. Because everyone's, people were wondering why they couldn't get Banjo in there, or they were wondering why, Master Chief has been in there. It's like, well, they're all Western characters, and there has not been a non-Western character in Smash Brothers. Well, guess this is the first one with Rare's developed. Rare made Banjo-Kazooie for Nintendo, so it's still kind of weirdly, technically a Nintendo side piece.
Well, I don't have the link. There's an interview floating around. Just came out, part of the E3 stuff where they were talking to the guys from Rare, and they were just saying like one of the questions they were asked was it hard getting Banjo in Smash? And he was just like, no, it's super easy. Like they like we love Nintendo. We've worked with Nintendo, and Nintendo loves us. Like we basically just made it happen, and it happened. So that's kind of cool.
It's really cool, and it's I think further bringing I think Rare's best stuff outside of Viva Pinata was on Nintendo. The Banjo games are pretty good. Even I think they did Diddy Kong Racing too, which is really good.
GoldenEye, that was
GoldenEye. The original. I mean, it was good for back in the day. But Rare is kind of known for those games more than it is the games on Xbox on Microsoft, because now it just does avatars for Microsoft.
Call it now. Geralt shows up at Smash at some point.
Yeah, that could very well happen now. But what I find really interesting is this, again, Nintendo and Microsoft are really becoming kind of more open in their relationship, and I think the console manufacturers are starting to kind of this will kind of close out our conversation. The console manufacturers are really starting to understand their quote unquote place in the industry. Yeah. Nintendo has the perfect gaming device with the Switch. You could take it anywhere. You can get some pretty good looking games on there. I mean, it's like late Xbox 360, PS3 era technology, a little bit better, but it's portable, and that's a huge win for them. But then you look at the stuff that Microsoft is looking at, which is the xCloud, the streaming, and their services, their Game Pass. I mean, that I'm strongly considering picking up Game Pass, even though I'm not a PC gamer whatsoever. But that Game Pass Ultimate,
dude, yeah,
that's a fucking
so
deal
good.
and a half, dude.
Especially when you consider like how shitty PlayStation Now is. Like what it offers is not even it's not even close to what Xbox Game Pass in its multiple tiers, by the way, offers any player.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. And so Microsoft, I think, has finally kind of figured out what they are. I don't think they need to produce a console in a weird way. I mean, they're beyond console right now. They can stick to these services, and that's great. And then you have Sony, which is all about the game performance. I mean, I think as good as the Xbox One X is, and what Microsoft's looking at they're pushing to the cloud. Sony is still looking at hardware and developing some fantastic hardware and making the games and I think that is that's their advantage. And so and they have like really good first party lineups and engaging storytelling. And so I think they're partnering up with Microsoft as well. And I think it's funny because the war, there used to be this console war, which was Microsoft versus Sony versus Nintendo, but it really kind of feels like Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony together against Stadia, against Apple, against Epic.
Yeah, because they're all announcing they're all announcing streaming services and everything. It's crazy.
Services, so it's a
now the war is between the VR platforms, right?
VR, exactly.
You've got Facebook with Oculus out there shutting down any attempts to get any sort of universal compatibility going between the different platforms because they want their shit and just fragmenting that user base and trying to be the top dog, while these guys are all just like, yeah, we're all best friends. We're working on it. We're gonna.
So wild. It's so wild. The console wars are over. There's been a peace treaty signed. It's the European Union of consoles right now.
VR is making a hard Brexit.
And VR is Brexiting. There you go. VR is
just to kind of close that out.
Which one's the totalitarian? That would be Valve these days. Right? But guys, E3. What's your just overall impression of E3, Rexley?
I think it's great overall. Like like we mentioned, that March, April, May of 2020 is insane. Like I didn't realize until the other day when I was just looking at all the release dates. Like a lot of stuff's coming out in those 3 months.
What were your top three, by the way?
So my top three were, I'm trying to remember now. I think it was obviously Cyberpunk was one,
which we did not talk about.
Which we didn't talk
because kind of briefly. Yeah. We talked about Keanu.
Yeah. Watchdogs Legion is number 2, just because I think it's going to be interesting. But yeah, and then the third one was Breath of the Wild 2.
Okay, all right.
So
mine, Aaron, what about yours?
Mine were Cyberpunk, Watchdogs Legion, and Ghostwire Tokyo.
Nice. Mine were Cyberpunk and Watchdogs Legion, and Link's Awakening. I was gonna say Breath of the Wild too, but it was just a trailer, and I figured I'm gonna stick to games that maybe had showed some gameplay.
That's fair. That's fair. I can see that.
But that pixie cut.
That pixie cut is awesome. Ooh, it's gonna be very interesting because I think Breath of the Wild 2 and Cyberpunk and Watchdog are listed by almost every single person on the site when I asked for their top 3. But it's a really good time. It shows you that there's some fantastic quality. There's even more great quality. 2019, the rest of this year is as crazy as 2018 was and 2017. Holy shit, 2019 looks. I mean, don't forget, Death Stranding is still coming. Dreams is out. It's really good.
So many
Oculus Quest is out there, and you got Switch controllers that are made for Erron.
Yeah.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day. Guys, thank you very much. Rexy, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Erdu, at HEIRDEUX.
Scratty Bones, where can we find you, Erron?
Find me on Twitch and Twitter at ScrattyBones.
Excellent. And you can find me at Dali Domovsky. You can find us at SideQuesting, sidequesting.com, SideQuesting TV on your streaming services. And that's it for the away team. Hope Tom and Dan and a couple of other folks who are out at E3 are having a good time, and we'll catch up with them on the next episode because they're going to have more hands-on time with some of this stuff. Dan, I know, was really hyping up Modern Warfare, which you really liked, and then Tom actually said that he was in love with Doom Eternal and Jedi Fallen Over.
Jedi Fallen Over.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Good night. That's it. Yeah. Bye.